10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good morning, I'm Richard from UNT News. Environmental sustainability is a hot issue nowadays. Our world is a unique environment in that every living being, plant, and landscape contributes to the overall wellness of the earth. This is why harmful effects of human waste production and consumption can have such drastic effects on certain ecologies and biospheres. A major concern right now is the problem of overfishing. Have you ever thought why there is so many fish in the market? Have you ever thought we will run out of the fish supply in the near future? Ocean overfishing simply means catching fish from sea at rates too high, where fish stock become too depleted to recover. With oceans taking up over 70% of the Earth, sea creatures and the overall health of marine life is essential for sustaining life elsewhere on the planet, but overfishing is having drastic effects on the future of both ocean and land dwellers.
Overfishing occurs when more fish are caught than the population can replace through natural reproduction. Gathering as many fish as possible may seem like a profitable practice, but overfishing has serious consequences. The results not only affect the balance of life in the oceans, but also the social and economic well-being of the coastal communities who depend on fish for their way of life. Today we have a guest from University Malaya, Professor Kueh Boon Kiat. He is a professor of marine conservation. Good morning, Professor Kueh.
Good morning.
I have a few questions I'm sure all the audience would like to know.
Okay.
The first question is, what are the causes of overfishing?
To put it simple, overfishing occurs when more fish are caught than they are able to reproduce to repopulate. Some of the causes of overfishing include the difficulties in regulating fishing areas due to lack of resources and tracking activity. This is related to the authorities of certain areas. Some authorities of most areas in the world have a total lack of oversight related to the fishing industry, which means the practice and activities of fishing fleets are not overly monitored. This means that the fishermen can use bad or harmful tools to fish. Besides that, in international waters, there are little to no rules regarding fishing practices, which means fishing fleets can bypass areas that do have regulations. This means that some fishermen will enter limited areas and fish more than they should. This will cause that the fish in those limited areas to be depleted. There is also a lack of knowledge regarding fish populations and quotas in a universal standard. Some fish are only allowed a certain amount to be fished, but some fishermen don't have the knowledge about the quotas and the limits, so they fish more than they should, and this will cause the fish stock to reduce. There are also problems with customs and importation where the provenance of fish is not questioned, leading to surreptitious practices such as calling one kind of fish something else. Therefore, Some species of fish captured are not recorded. There is also unreported fishing, which is nearly impossible to track because the sea is very big. So some fishermen going to some area that is hard to be found are impossible to track. Many countries also have subsidies for fishermen, which keeps their number higher than it needs to be. A statistic shows that it is estimated that there are 2.5 times more fleets than needed. So most of the fishermen have more ships or more fleets that carry fish they captured, and therefore causes the fish more than they should. There is also the fishing areas are largely unprotected. Only a little over 1.5% of oceans have been declared protected areas, and most of these are still open to fishermen. This means that areas can be harmed or depleted.
Okay, thanks. The second question is, what are the effects of overfishing?
Current estimates are that overfishing has impacted over 85% of the world's fish resources, and that most fisheries are fished far beyond their sustainable capacity. While this is poised to have long-term effects on human consumption, there are also a number of other effects, such as the removal of essential predators. Sharks and tuna are particularly susceptible to overfishing, and when they are removed from the areas they live in, this means that sea creatures further down the food chain are negatively impacted. Populations can grow larger, and the role that these larger creatures play from what they eat to how their body is composed mean potentially fatal effects for ocean ecosystems. As we all know, a healthy ecosystem have to have predators and prey. If sharks and tuna are particularly susceptible to overfishing, there will be less predator in the ecosystem of the ocean. Thus, the prey will grow more and the ecosystem will be unbalanced. Besides that, coral reef will have poor health. With a larger amount of smaller marine creatures comes greater damage to coral reefs and other elements of the ocean's ecosystem. Reefs are essential to ocean life, and once they are harmed, it is hard to repair the damage. Growth of algae will also be boosted. In controlled amounts, algae is essential to helping marine life thrive, but if it is allowed to grow at will, it can impact fish, reefs, and more, leading to serious destruction. Unintended catches are also one of the effects of overfishing. Another concern of overfishing is that because the industry is so large, there are a number of sea creatures who get caught in the process, but don't get used for food. This can mean everything from dolphins to turtles can be impacted by the presence of fishing fleets. This is because fishing fleets often use a very large net for fishing. The net reaches the seabed and it will harm almost all living creatures in the ocean, including seagrasses on the seabed. There is also threat to local food sources. There are a number of communities around the world that rely on fish as their primary resource for food. The growth of overfishing has caused serious threat to these communities, which are often located in developing countries. Without the ability to catch their food, their populations are threatened. Financial losses is also another effect of overfishing. A lot of these communities that rely on fish for food also rely on low-level fishing industries for economic viability. These enterprises, as opposed to large-scale fishing ones, typically do far less damage to their marine life because they are on a much smaller scale. However, when these communities can't access food or their financial support, they are likely to have trouble in the future. Obviously, another huge concern with overfishing is the damage it does to parts of the earth that rely on healthy marine life. The problem is unfortunately so widespread that effects can be felt in every part of the world. Some of the areas that are greatly impacted by overfishing include the Arctic, coastal East Africa, the Coral Triangle comprised of waters off of Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, and Timor-Leste. Another major effect of overfishing is the long-term survival of some of the world's fish species, including big-eye tuna, bluefin tuna, skipjack tuna, and more. That's all. Thank you.
The effects of overfishing are vast and many of them won't be known until they are actually negatively impacting human life on planet. Some solutions being used include more protected marine area, that setting up more protected area in ocean, that an effort to help reduce the effect of overfishing. Label for consumer. Groups are also trying to target consumers to be more aware of seafood that they buy and eat. Helping developing countries. Fishing is crucial industry in many poor and conservation efforts are focusing on helping this area that set up procedure to ensure sustainability. So as conclusion, overfishing is a major problem all over the world. We are overfishing to the point of extinction in many cases. Over time, we need to completely stop getting our fish from the ocean so we can rely on the fish farm just as we rely on farm for most of the meat we eat. We need to address the problem before it's too late, and for now, we need to find ways of fishing that are less harmful to the ocean, that doesn't affect innocent species. UNT News, thank you.